Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, I'm ScrapMan, bringing you another episode of Scrap Mechanic, and today we are back in the medieval fantasy world, taking a break from the human castle section, and we are going to be looking at the dwarf section over here. We're going to take a look at some dwarf creations, maybe starting to build a little bit of some of the perimeter and stuff, and going through what the dwarf area might need to continue the building. Now, as far as background or what I imagine the dwarf area to look like or the dwarfs to be like as a species, I imagine they're going to be a little bit less organized, a little bit less directed in kind of their architecture and the design of their base. So whereas the human section, it's very, very defined and planned out, I imagine that the orc section, the walls may not always be as lined up or things like that. They might be a little bit more disjointed. They might not care as much about having a completely impenetrable fortress like the humans have. And that's because the orcs are just all about brute force. They're not scared of anything. They're not intimidated by anyone. They just kind of have their defenses up. They build what they build, and they just want to slay their enemies in whatever way they see fit. Building here is going to be interesting because the dwarfs are easy because it's square and it's on the grid. So aligning walls and things like that are super easy. Here we have a circle, and building on circles in Scrap Mechanic is always a hassle. And it looks like this is our entrance here. So as far as where we should have any towers be facing, I mean, we could just have them on this grid here, just facing directly that way. The ground isn't the most level here, which also just kind of, I think, represents the orcs pretty well. Like, things aren't going to be even, things aren't going to be level. So let's go ahead and start looking at what we have for orc creations. All right, now, some of you may remember this creation here. This was by Blackbird, and it was laggy before, but this is version 2. So we fixed it, so it should work without any lag. So right now, even without it being welded, I'm not getting any lag. So if we go ahead and spawn it in here, or weld it in here, yeah, perfect. This is no lag at all. So let's go ahead. Is there... Oh, yeah, here's the way in. Let's just double check everything, make sure everything looks good. And we're not getting any lag. And I think we had a... Oh, we got to call the elevator. There we go. We got the elevator up at the top. And that's weird. Oh, okay. I see. I think. I don't know. I don't know if I actually see. But let's look at some other creations that we have to see how they're all going to be kind of working together here. So I'll just leave that one there for now. We can kind of compare and contrast different creations. So here's another really cool tower that I really like a lot. If anything, it's almost a little bit too organized with its design here. But this could be maybe something to do with the leader of the orcs. Like maybe there's a orc lair, kind of like the king, wherever the king of the orcs would stay. I don't know if that's going to be a thing or not. All right, can we get in here? How do we... Oh, okay, there's a sensor. All right, so the sensor opens up. I've never been in this creation before. I don't exactly know what to expect. Looks like we can go up to like a sec... Oh, we got some weaponry in here. We got a bow. We got swords. We got spears. All right, let's go on up the ladder and onto the top of the tower. So I really, really, really like the way this tower looks. And it's actually taller than the other tower, so this might be better for the perimeter now that I'm thinking about it. So let's keep that one in there. I think we have a couple more to look at as well. Ooh, here we have a chieftain's hall. I guess chieftain would be a appropriate name for the orc leader. All right, so this is actually smaller than I expected. The door, you need to crouch in to get through the door. I don't think our orcs are that... Actually, I could weld it up a little bit more. I don't know what these pieces are. I'll have to find that out. So now I'm curious, what does this look like next to the chieftain's hall? We just put them... Oh, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. Let's have it go here. There we go. Like, I was thinking something kind of like that. I feel like this is more of a strategy or like war room. Even though I said that the orcs aren't really that organized, but it doesn't mean that they're completely disorganized. They could have like a room like this, or maybe this is even like a... I don't know. Let me know down in the comments if you have any other ideas for this. I feel like the chieftain's hall, I feel like should be a little bit bigger and a little bit more fitting of this kind of architecture here. But yeah, this could be good. We could have multiple ones of these, like various places around the camp. However, I don't know if I want my logo up there because I don't necessarily identify with the orcs. I'm staying neutral in this for now. But even just like that, it looks pretty cool. So yeah, like I was saying, we could probably put a few of these down in various spaces. They could serve different purposes. One could be a war room. One could be, oh, these could even be barracks. We could have little bunks on the floor. This actually looks really, really good in here. Just like little bunks. So I guess that's something that we might need is, like modular pieces to add into the orc area. So like tents, like orc bunks or sleeping areas, any materials that they might be having inside these places. That's something to think about for sure. All right, let's see what else we have to choose from. All right, looks like we have another tower here. This one's much smaller. Oh, this actually looks pretty nice. I like the spikes on an angle out here. How do we get in? Okay, so we get in through here. And then does this work? Is this... How are we supposed to get up? I don't understand. I don't know how to get up it. Oh, I'm just going to use my lift on the outside. I think that's just an aesthetic ladder. It's not actually functional. And then here's the top here. Oh, I like the, that's a really nice touch, actually. Having the tips of these be like the carved out color. I wonder how that would look on, like, these things over here. That actually looks pretty good. That might be something to consider for those of you who are building more stuff like this. Yeah, look at that. That looks really good. Good attention to detail with that, because if you're going to carve the wood down to a spike like that, then I guess the tip of the wood would be a more lighter color because of the inside of it. All right, so now I'm at like a slight dilemma there. This tower looks awesome. I think it kind of represents the orcs pretty well. But now we have like different styles of towers, and I don't know if we should put more than one type at the same time in here, because this one looks really cool too, but it's just so different from that one that I don't know if they'll clash having the two different types of towers. Although that could also be kind of part of the disorganization of the orcs, is they don't necessarily build the same type of tower every single time. They're not identical. So we could have a few different types of towers just at various spaces throughout the orc camp or around the perimeter and things like that. So another thing that we have to look at is we have a pack here, an orc pack. Oh, by the way, I forgot to name some of the creators here. So the Chieftain's Hall was by Yaskin For It. The Orc Tower was by Boobalastic. We've got the Orc Pack that we're going to be taking a look at by Fierce Deity Gaming. And then we had the Fancy Orc Tower by 72 Ideas. But this Orc Pack here, oh, nice. I like that these are angled already. I figured this could be something good just to start putting around the perimeter, just in various spaces. Just having a handful of these just kind of going around the perimeter. Does this work? This does work. All right. And we even got a much more basic tower here. That's a lot simpler, easier to construct for the orcs, so there'll probably be more of these. Yeah, like even with this, if we just paint a bunch of the tips, this lighter color here. Yeah, what do you think of that? I think that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna resave this as is so that we have the version with the painted tips. So now I guess it's a matter of choosing what to put where. So now that I'm looking at it, I honestly think this is more intimidating. Oh yes, especially with the cage there. Way more intimidating than that. So I think this is going to be reserved for inside the camp, especially since this is somewhat of an armory as well. Because up on the second floor there, we obviously have some weapons and things like that. So I don't think it's a good idea to have weapons and armory like that just easily accessible from the perimeter. Because then when the enemy approaches and they invade, then that's going to be the first thing that gets taken over, and there goes your weapons. So I think those should be more reserved on the inside. And then this thing should be on the perimeter because it's going to intimidate the enemies a lot. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to start painting up the edges of these and resave it so we can spawn in a couple of them. All right, I think I've done it. I've painted every single whittled down tip of all of these wooden pieces. I probably missed one somewhere, but you know what? Looks good enough from a distance. So I'm going to save this and we're going to start putting this at the perimeter. All right, and here we go. We've got our first towers installed at the closest entrance area to the actual base. Now, the reason why I'm putting those ones there and not right out here where they're more exposed is because I figured at the entrance to the entire area, the entire tile, we can have more towers as well. So yeah, then as they come up the road, you can see they'll be seeing these here. They'll see their tortured and captured allies in the cages if we've taken any hostages. And by we, I mean they, the orcs. That could definitely be used for some intimidation. Okay, so now I think we can put some more of these towers down here as well. Let's take a look at how the land is going to look over here. This looks a little bit less, even. We even got like a puddle to go through. This is going to be a tough area to put some towers down. You know what? I'm actually surprised you can still see the towers from way over here. So you know what? I might be able to put one right here. This is a nice, handy, flat spot next to the edge of this road. And do you think maybe one right here as well? I mean, that's not very symmetrical to the road. I could maybe just put it in the water a little bit. Have it be up on, like, a pedestal. All right, there we go. That's not looking too bad. So we can put that one right there. And... all right, so now you can really start to see the difference between the heights. You know what? Even though it's a little bit further away from the road, I am going to put it here because I think it's only fair to give the orcs a nice dry entrance into the tower. So we're going to line up the entrance so it is on the dry land here. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. So I'll just fill in the rest of it underneath. And I know I'm using a different texture than what was actually used there, but I think the wood's going to look fine with it. All right, and here we have it. The first entrance into the orc main camp is also going to have these really intimidating towers with potential hostages or prisoners. Not hostages, prisoners. Hostages imply negotiation. The orcs are not going to negotiate for their prisoners. All right, so let's head back up into the main camp here, and we're going to figure out where we're going to start putting some other things. Okay, so as I'm thinking about this, I think it'll be really impractical and not good for the series to actually line this entire thing up with a wall. I think the way we're going to have this is this ridge going around us is going to kind of be the natural barrier that at least blocks most of the camp from sight. However, at the front here, I think is where we're going to have just sections of wall. And then at various points, maybe around here, we'll just put some of these angled wall pieces, like this one right here that angles out. Just as kind of like an intimidation factor that makes the place look a little bit more dangerous. Because, yeah, with the amount of individual blocks, like you can see all the individual pieces in here, this is going to be a much more laggy wall than the castle wall, because the castle wall is draggable material, which essentially gets registered as one single piece. But this stuff is a lot more complex, I think, because they're individual deletable pieces. So what I'm basically going to do is going out from these towers here, I'm just going to kind of weld them until we kind of get onto the ridge. And we're just going to see how that looks. All right, so here is how the front looks so far. I think it actually looks pretty cool with these things. The only thing I'm trying to figure out is, since I'm not going to be doing this solid all the way around, how to kind of have these taper off or stop. Because right now it's just like too abrupt of a stop. So I'm not really sure what to do, especially with the way that the ground's going to be coming up here. But I guess we'll think about that later. Maybe you guys can leave some feedback in the comments about what you guys would recommend for that. And we'll go from there. All right, so now what I want to do is put a couple of these things around the perimeter. I feel like these are going to go a long way to making this place look a lot more intimidating, especially at a distance. And we can just spread them out and have them in various places in the disorganized fashion that the orcs represent so well. All right, and you know what I'm actually going to do? For these particular ones, I'm going to set the angle even greater to be kind of like at the enemy. Maybe not that much. Maybe 45 degrees is enough. Yeah, let's go with 45 degrees. All right, so I put a few of them up, so I'm just giving you a more general overview. I spaced them out pretty far so far, but you can see they at least add a little bit of detail, a little bit of texture to the outside of the camp. Just some obstacles that the enemy can look at and see blocking their path. Some very sharp wooden sticks. The most intimidating of all. Sharp wooden sticks, oh no. We will splinter you to death. Actually, you know, spears are a real threat, so, you know, you gotta be careful. Whether they're made of sharp wood or metal. So just thinking about it, I feel like wood it's just gonna splinter all over the place. That just sounds so much less pleasant than getting speared by metal. You know, metal just feels like it's gonna glide in and out. You won't even know it's happening. But sharp wooden carved sticks, you're gonna feel that all the way. So that's why the orcs are particularly brutal and intimidating, because of their sharp wooden sticks. But I am really liking the way that this is looking so far, especially like these towers here look amazing. We got these towers out at the front as well. I think this is starting to come along pretty well. We definitely need some more orc stuff, and we need some more elf stuff. So everything that we've done with the orcs so far, we have the outer wall, we have the towers. What we're missing is more of like the encampment creations. So tents, barracks, things inside the barracks, you know, beds. I think that we need a... so for this tower right here, I think the chieftain's kind of lair, or whatever you would call it, should be built with a similar design scheme of this tower right here. I think this tower is as elegant as the orcs are capable of going, and I think that that would be good for a base aesthetic for the chieftain's lair. I think this is good for just more general troop areas. Oh, you know what we can do? I forgot, we actually have orcs. We can spawn the actual orcs themselves in. So there you go. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna need a bigger door for this thing. Especially considering if this is the size of our orcs. We can actually weld some of these. Let's do this right now. Let's weld some of these guys on the top of the towers. So we'll put archers on top of the towers. So I'll get this orc archer here, and we'll put a handful of these. Orc archer. Handful of these on the towers. Look at that. That is actually really perfect. Like the size of this for the tower. I think that looks pretty good. All right, let's go weld another one on this tower, and then the 2 towers down below. All right, and there are the watchful orcs from down here. We got the watchful orcs up there. I think they got the entrance pretty well covered. We should definitely put maybe an assortment of towers like around the ridge as well with some orcs on them. That way, due to their lack of sufficient fencing going all the way around, at least they'll have some good, a good set of eyes going all the way around to alert of any threats approaching from any particular direction. But I think we're starting pretty well so far in the orc section. Next episode, we'll probably focus on somewhere else, maybe the elves. There's not a whole lot to do in the dragon section other than look at some monster creations, which we have some interesting submissions for that. So what do you want to see next week? Do you want to see elf creations? Do you want to see monster/dragon creations? Let me know down in the comments, and if I remember, I'll try to put up a poll up in the top right. So yeah, looking forward to your feedback on this so far. Looking forward to your creations. Remember to join the Discord if you want to submit some creations. I hope this video has earned your subscription. Anyway, this has been ScrapMan, and I'll see you next time. Bye.